In just about 20 minutes, we're going to be going over a prompting technique called reflection. You'll either see it with an X in its name or just as reflection. Right now, the X is a little bit more popular, but this may change here in the future. So just want to call that out before we jump into it. Now, what this is really good for is chatbots, problem solving like math questions, and it also helps hallucinations. Here's how. So normally when prompting, you'll ask a question or ask a large language model to perform a task and you will get a response. Well, what a reflection prompt is another prompt after this. So you ask your large language model to reflect on that answer. And this could either be an additional prompt or two additional prompts. I'll show you both examples, one in ChatGPT and one with Python and LangChain. And you could technically apply the Python and LangChain one to your ChatGPT if you don't know how to code. Let me show you an example also kind of how this would work under a chatbot. So imagine you have a person going to a website and they say, I can't log into the app. Your large language model may come back and say, did you forget your password or login credentials? We can send you new ones. Then you send a prompt and says, is this response helpful to a user who's having problems? If not, please work on a better response. Use a sympathetic tone. And the response on this reflection prompt may be, sorry about your login issues. Please send us your email and we'll send over new login credentials. So with a little of the basics out of the way, let's take a look at two examples. All right, so ChatGPT is open. Let's take a look at our first example. So here's a great way to start off. I'm going to say provide a paragraph on the history of the Tampa Bay Rays. That's a baseball team out here in Florida. I'm a big baseball fan. So and then I'm going to say specifically how a baseball team was established in St. Pete. And that's the city that they specifically play in, downtown St. Pete. I know it's called the Tampa Bay Rays, but that's just the area. So I want to see specifically what ChatGPT gives me as a result. So let me just push this through and we'll get our paragraph. Okay. And it's a Tampa Bay Rays, a Major League Baseball team based in St. Pete, Florida, were established in 1995 and began playing in the 98 season. The team's establishment was the result of a prolonged effort by local investors and city officials to bring a Major League franchise to the Tampa Bay area, which had previously faced several near misses with relocation and expansion bids. The team's inception was significantly driven by Vince Naomi, I think that's how you pronounce it, a local businessman who was awarded the franchise by MLB. Initially in the Devil Rays, the team struggled in early years, but eventually found success through rebranding the Rays in 2008. That year marked a turning point as they won the AL pennant and reached the World Series, bringing national attention to the franchise and solidifying its place in MLB landscape. So, not bad. It could be a little bit better. And this is where reflection really helps, because what we're going to do is we're going to prompt again based off of this response. So, what I'm going to say is on here is evaluate the accuracy, and I don't need a quote, but evaluate accuracy of the response you provided. Make sure you talk about how the Rays were formed in the Tampa Bay region. Improve where possible. So essentially, we're going to be taking a look at now this response, and we're going to try to improve upon it. We're going to first say evaluate the accuracy, so make sure that this information is correct. And then we're going to say another additional point, right? Make sure we talk about how they were formed in the Tampa Bay region. It does talk about it. It could do a little bit better job. And then improve where possible, not possibly, but improve where possible. So that way we get a better response. And run this. And look, now we have a little bit more information about the Mariners and Giants. I knew about the Giants, which would have been a shame if they actually moved to Tampa, because I love that stadium. The design's awesome. I've never been, but let's read over this paragraph now. The Tampa Bay Rays, originally known as the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, are a Major League Baseball team based in St. Pete, Florida, right? The establishment was the culmination of a long, determined effort. We talked about this, right? its strong support of minor league baseball and spring training activities. This is new, but Florida is really known for that, both spring training and a bunch of minor leagues. We have a full minor league system down here. But the push for a team in the area began in the 70s and 80s with several failed attempts to acquire teams through relocation. I didn't know it started in the 70s and 80s, including bids for the White Sox. I knew that. Mariners, like I said, I never knew about the Mariners, and San Francisco Giants. In 1995, after years of lobbying and demonstrating the region's viability as a major league market, Tampa Bay was rewarded the franchise, right? Key figures like Vince over here, first owner, 98 season, 2008, dropping Devil from the name, turnaround performance, and a lot better information, right? This wasn't bad, but now since I've talked about this even more, we went over here and reviewed the results, reprompted it essentially, and got an even better result over here. This is where Reflection really shines. So that's the ChatGPT example. We're going to be taking a look at LangChain and Python now. And I will say is you can utilize essentially what I'm doing on the Python side of things with ChatGPT also. It's going to be a different example. So if you don't know how to code, no worries. Just put this into ChatGPT. But if you do know how to code, let's build this out. All right, so let's start by installing a few things. So I'm using Google Colab. What we're going to do is we're going to pip install LangChain, then pip install OpenAI, and then also pip install LangChain OpenAI. This will take a minute or so, and I'm just going to fast forward to when it's done. All right, so now that that's installed, let's bring in some imports. So from LangChain OpenAI, imports OpenAI, from LangChain.prompts.prompt, import prompt templates, from LangChain underscore OpenAI, import chat OpenAI, and then lastly from LangChain.chains, import LLM chain, and then we have one more import, and this deals with our OpenAI API key. So you will need one of those for the Python section. So import OS, and then what we're going to do is os.environ, and just set this to OpenAI underscore API underscore key like this equals, and inside over here you're going to put your API key. For example, mine starts with SK and we have a dash. Now I'm going to paste mine in here, but I'm going to cut that out. So make sure you have a API key. And if you don't have one, grab one from the OpenAI website. They should give you some free credit, I believe, when you sign up. But this video is literally going to cost you maybe a penny, if that, to run it. So, all right, let's import that in and keep moving forward. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to find our large language model. Now, what I'm going to do specifically is say LM equals chat OpenAI and set your model in here. Now, I'm going to use GPT-3.5 Turbo. Use whatever you want, to be honest with you guys, but 3.5 Turbo is cheap, and I'm going the cheap route for this tutorial since none of this code is going to go into any type of production environment. So GPT-3.5 Turbo, and then also make sure you set your temperature to 0. I've skipped that in some of the different videos, or set specific temperatures, just to make sure that we get the same type of results. Let's just put temperature to 0. You won't get the same results, obviously, but something in the same approximity. So, all right. And now what we're going to do is we're going to set up some prompt templates. And essentially what my goal is to set up 3 different prompt templates. We're going to have an initial prompt template, then we're going to have something called our reflection, and then our improved response. So let's go along the lines with that. Let's build out our initial prompt templates. And this is going to equal to a prompt template like this. And inside over here, you set your input variables. So input variables equals, and this is just going to be a prompt. So prompt like that. And actually, let me make sure that these are double quotes. So prompt, and I'm just going to remove these single quotes like that. Okay. And then in here, we're going to say template equals, and we're going to say prompt. And inside, we're going to have a prompt variable. So prompt like that. And then we're going to have a new line, so /n, and then just put response in here. So response, and that is going to be our initial prompt template. Awesome. Now what we're going to do is set our reflection prompt template. So reflection prompt template. You can put the X in here, change it up, but that's fine. We can say prompt template, and inside over here, this time we have a few different input variables. So I'm just going to copy this because we still have our prompt, but then we're also going to have our response, which we have the response right here, right? But now we're going to bring that in over here, and I'm just going to put lowercase response like that. And then we're going to have our template underneath. So template equals, and we're going to put 3 quotes because we're going to expand this out a bit, and we'll close this down. And what I'm going to say on here is the following is a response given by an AI to a prompt, right? And then prompt, put in your prompt over here, prompt. Then what we're going to do is our response like that. And we're going to have another line, and we're going to say reflect on, God, I can't spell. Reflect on the quality of this response. What are its strengths? What are its weaknesses? How could it be improved? Okay. And we are going to run that for our reflection prompt. Moving forward. Okay, now what we're going to take a look at is our improved response. So we're going to have our improved response prompt template equals a prompt template. And this time we're going to start off with our input variables again, but we're going to have 3. We're going to have our prompt, our response, well, prompt. We're going to have our initial response, and then we're going to have our reflection. And in over here, put reflection like that. What we'll have is template again, 3 quotes. We'll put 3 quotes here at the very end. And let's write this out. So we'll say the following is an improved response to the prompt based on the reflection provided, and misspelled provided, but that's okay. And we'll have our prompt, that. Then we'll have our initial response. Response, and then we'll have a reflection. And then we're going to finalize this and say now provide an improved response to the prompt considering the reflection above. And I do apologize, there's a lot of typing on this video. I'll try to put all this on my website when I have the chance. So improved response template. So we have 3, right? Initial, our reflection, and then improved response template at the very end. Now we're going to have to create a few chains. So we'll put all of our chains here. So initial chain, reflection chain, and then improved response chain. And a lot of this code is going to be the same, so that's why I'm just going to put them all over here. And all we have to do is put our template. So, for example, our initial prompt template, we'll put a pipe, and then we'll say LLM at the very end. So it'll be like this, pipe LLM. I'm just going to copy these over really quick. So reflection prompt templates and improved response template. Okay, and then just copy this pipe LLM like that. And those are your chains. Pretty easy, right? Okay, now let's create our user prompt. So user prompt. And then I'm going to say that's equal. And we can just put something in here. Explain E equals MC squared to a 5-year-old. Explain like I'm 5, right? The pretty famous. So, and same with explain E equals MC squared. So that's going to be our user prompt. And now let's get our responses, right? We have 3 different ones that we need to build out. So let's create our initial response first. So initial response equals, and we have our initial chain here. So we're going to invoke our chain. So we're going to say invoke, and in over here, define your prompt. So firstly, we're going to have prompts, and it's going to be the user prompt that we defined, right? This over here. And this is built like a dictionary, right? So prompt, our variable associated with this user prompt. It'll take a second, and then we can print this out. So prints, and we'll print out our initial response. Okay, imagine you have a big box of building blocks. Each block is like a tiny bit of energy. When you put all the blocks together, you can make something really cool, like a spaceship. Now, E equals MC squared is like a special rule that says how much energy you can make from just a little bit of matter, the blocks, and how fast it's moving, the speed of light, which is really, really fast. So you have a little bit of matter and it's moving really fast. You can make a lot of energy. It's like how you can make a big spaceship from those lots of building blocks. So that's the explain like I'm 5 version, at least our first version of that, right? Now let's do a little bit of reflection. So we can say reflection equals, and we'll do our chain over here. So this reflection chain, and what we're going to say on here is invoke. And this time in our dictionary, we need our prompt and our response. So let's build that out. Technically, I could literally just copy this over here to save us a little bit of time. And I should have done that instead of typing that out. But we have our user prompt, or we have our prompt and user prompt over here. Now let's build our response. So response, and that's going to be equal to this initial response, right? Awesome. So we have a reflection over here, and let's print out our reflection. So print, and you can see how this reflection works. It says the response uses a simple analogy of building blocks to explain the concept E equals MC squared, making it easier for a 5-year-old to understand. Breaks down the equation understandable parts such as matter, energy, speed of light. The response is concise and to the point, make it easy to follow. Weakness: the response could potentially be too abstract for a 5-year-old to fully grasp, as concepts like energy and matter may be difficult for them to comprehend. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have said explain like I'm 5, but that's okay. It could benefit from more visual aids or interactive examples to further simplify the explanation. The response could include elements to engage the child's curiosity and make the concept more relatable. Improvements. It goes over all this. I'm not going to read it all out, but regardless, now what we can do is finalize our results, right? And we can have our third example over here, which is our improved response. So improved response equals our improved response chain.invoke. And inside over here, we're going to have our prompts, just our user prompt, right? User prompt. Then we have our initial response. So initial response, initial response. And then lastly, we have our reflection. So reflection, that's reflection, that as well. Okay, and let's see what happens. So we're going to print this out, and see our improved response. Hey there, let's imagine you have a magic wand that can turn your favorite toys into a super duper energy. So when you wave your wand over a toy car, it transforms a big burst of energy that can make things more really fast. That's what E equals MC squared is all about. It's like a special spell that tells us how much energy we can get turning a little bit of stuff like toys into a super powerful energy. And it keeps going forward, right? Isn't that cool? But this is for a 5-year-old, right? I want to talk about a complex concept that made Albert Einstein famous. So regardless, that is how you can use reflection prompting. So first, what we have to do is bring in your imports, right? Not much to import in over here. Bring in your OpenAI API key, create your large language model. I'm just using 3.5 Turbo for this video. Then you're going to have to set up 3 different prompt templates. You set up your initial prompt, right, which you get your prompt and your response. Then you have your reflection, which is the prompt and the response. And finally, at the very end, you use your prompt, your initial response, and also the reflection. And that way you can get the best results based off of your large language model. We used 3 different chains, our initial, reflection, and improved response. And chaining was pretty easy, right? This pipe that looks like an OR. We have our template pipe and then our large language model, which we defined a little bit earlier, right over there. And then essentially we just build our prompt. We can change this to so many different things now that we've templatized it, right? And all you do is pass through a dictionary and you invoke all these different chains and they have different variables, right? This just says prompt, then you have prompt and response, and then you have all prompt, initial response, and reflection for this improved response. Hey, thanks for checking out this video. If you found some value from it, make sure to subscribe to the channel. My goal is to have this channel hit around 50,000 subscribers in 2025, and we're just 20% of the way there. So quite a lot of work to do. And because of that, I'm uploading 2 to 3 videos every single week based around data. This video is one in a series I'm developing on large language models and prompting techniques. So if you want to check out other videos in that capacity, I have a playlist right over here and a few other related videos down below in the description. Also, I'm always open to other video topics, so make sure to leave them down below in the comment section.